the meeting to order. And because we have some new faces at the table, I think we should go around and do introductions. So my name's Maureen McCoy, currently serving as chair, and I'm a longtime member of Longmont. I've served on the Historic Preservation Commission. I really adore the house. I've got ties to it, so we'll just go clockwise.
I just think about what clockwise was.
Your clockwise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your clockwise.
Yeah, well, I demonstrate.
Okay.
Clockwise.
I'm Candy Shy. I'm back. And I think y'all know I've talked enough about my roots and things like that. So I think y'all know that now.
Yeah.
Yep, we do.
Long-standing history. Good to have you back. I'm Karen Cruz, and I've served on the board from 2014 for 2 terms consecutively. Took 2020 year off to prepare our grant application, and then came back on the board for 2021, and here I am at the end of this term. So
I don't know if I'd
I
say
love-
you took
I
the
love
year
her.
off because it worked the whole time.
it was a busy year.
It didn't get time off.
But it's just a joy to serve this house.
So I'm Joan Peth, Mayor, been in Longmont for 42 years, and it's a long time. And I found out that the wife of the mayor comes to these meetings, so I don't have a wife. So I'm going to try to come as much as I can because I love the Callahan House a lot. So I've been active in the city forever. Drove my husband entirely nuts. Yeah.
She has the cutest little grandson, and they had a lovely little christening lunch for
We
him
did.
this last year.
We did. It was fun. Yes.
Here,
Yep, right in this room.
he tells jokes. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's really funny. He told. So can I tell you one little thing? Because I'm really proud of him. So they had Christmas in Florida, but their home's in Pennsylvania. So my son rented a van, and they're driving back. And they were in Asheville, North Carolina, at a restaurant, and there was some musician. I'm assuming it was a guitar player. And Hudson went up to him and said, excuse me, to get his attention. And he said, can you play James Taylor, Forever on My Mind?
How old is he?
And that's what the guy, he said, how old are you? And he said, well, actually, I'm 4. And
Wow.
the diners started clapping and laughing, and it scared him to death.
Oh.
So he ran pell-mell back to his parents. So,
Never do that again.
I know. What happens?
Until the next
Until
time.
the-
Yeah, right. He's very precocious.
Yeah,
There's
probably
bottom
just
line. Great fact that they have no
Inhibitions.
inhibitions. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Just lovely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ann Thompson, and I'm in my 2nd term, and I really love the Callahan House. And I always just like to mention, when I introduce myself, that when I moved to Longmont from Kenosha years ago, my very first job was here at the Callahan House. I was out in the gardens. So kind of came full circle after I retired from my regular career, then I came back here. So.
And everybody knows me. I'm Kathy Corpola, and I'm the Callahan House manager. And I have been here almost 12 years. It'll be 12 years at the end of March. So, yay.
I'm Sue Ellen Dabney. I'm a recreation program supervisor for the city of Longmont. I'm associated with the Callahan House, and it's my exciting thing for. I can retire now.
Actually, that's not all that's exciting.
yeah.
Sue Ellen got engaged.
Like this.
Did you get it?
No, not yet. It's like, if I ring coming, the end of this week or next week.
So that handsome fella that I see in church.
Yeah, he's my guy. So I'm very excited. So that wedding, and then I have 2 other daughters. 2 daughters getting married this year.
Oh my
God.
This year too?
Yes.
Yeah, you might as well just
Congratulations.
Celebrate their anniversaries together.
We will celebrate anniversaries and easy lump sum. It'll be very nice.
Wow.
Great. That's exciting.
I'm Brittany Hastings. I'm super excited to be a part of this. And I've worked in nonprofits and cultural facilities since 2015. I studied fine arts and history and art history in school, and I just love history. And I had the pleasure of working at the Molly Brown House in Denver. That was my first introduction to museums and nonprofits and cultural facilities, and I just loved it. And so that was probably my favorite job I've ever had, and so I'm really excited to kind of transfer that experience to the Callahans and just kind of dive in and serve Longmont by being part of this group. So
How exciting.
Yes.
That's great knowledge. Wonderful.
And I'm Cindy Martini. I've been a resident of Longmont for 20 years. I came from Chicago, and I have been in, my degree's in journalism, and I've been in public relations and employee communications for almost 30 years, I guess. And I have always admired old homes, and I've always admired the Callahan House, and every time I go by when there's an event, I think, I wish I could be part of that. It's so beautiful when they're in the garden especially. Yeah. So I just love getting more history about the town and promoting that kind of thing. So I really look forward to being on the board. Thank you.
And I'm Karen Reed. I'm serving my second term. Lived in Longmont since 1985. And I have a degree in history. I just love old things. And this house personifies that. It just see people when they come through the house and you talk to them. It's just such it's a real heart warmer. It's a great thing to be involved with. And I love working with you girls.
Thank you for calling us all girls.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel so much younger. All right, moving right along. Approval of minutes from previous meeting. The minutes that were submitted to you, Kathy, were changed slightly. And I don't quite understand why you did that.
I took out one editorial comment and fixed a couple of typos.
But I don't understand why you didn't, the editorial, I don't think it was an editorial comment because it was put in without board input or discussion, and that was part of the reason why that was stated or put was because we wanted to make sure that it was clear to anybody that we weren't doing board business outside of.
It was also stated later in the minutes as well.
Yeah, it was stated.
So.
I don't think it's stated quite the same. I think the phrase that's missing at the end of the second sentence is without board input or discussion, which is pertinent because it is confirming that the board business has been done outside of board meetings. So I think that's relevant and it's pertinent. We need to have that back in. It just states what is not stated later in minutes.
And that was one of the things that was really stressed to us by, in the training from the city. And in addition to that, the assistant city attorney, or Tim, I'm forgetting his last name, I apologize, but yeah, and stating that it's really, we've got to be very clear that we're not discussing or doing anything outside of the board meetings, even when we're taking down trees or doing anything. So that's, I think it should be included.
Well, that's absolutely true about board functions, but it wasn't a board function.
Right, but
It's
that's
clearly
not,
stated here, I think.
it's not clear that it's not board function until at the open house, the holiday open house. I think it's okay to add back in the words without board input or discussion at the end of the last sentence. It just makes it very clear that board input or discussion or meeting.
And I don't know if you ladies saw it, because I'm not sure that you thought that it was originally on the minutes that were submitted in adjustment to agenda item 2. And it was the statement without board input or discussion was removed.
I'll add that in, thank you. Anything else?
No. Has the rest of you ladies had a chance to read over the minutes?
Yeah. I just have one question. On the call to order, do we need to mention that somebody came late?
I think it's important that we do, because
I don't think that's been done before.
It has in past years.
well, because it's about who's there and who's present for the meeting when we're having the discussions. I think it's important that we state when somebody arrives and that they weren't privy to some other discussion prior to that point.
Normally we just list who's here, that's why I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's necessary to say who's late, who came when, who left earlier. We can get real nitpicky about this if we want to.
It gets to be too much detail.
Yeah,
That's really not the point.
I don't, that's it, it's really not the point. It's just mainly so you know who was here. That's the way I look at it.
This is a volunteer position, correct? So nobody's keeping track of attendance, no attendance, being late,
Right.
that type of thing. So I would feel almost like I'm being punished. If
That's
I
what I
were
felt.
called out.
Yeah.
And my name was mentioned that I was
That I showed up
10 minutes late, 5 minutes late.
By the way.
The only reason it's pertinent is because of votes and motions.
And that's the only reason.
That's the only reason it's pertinent, but honestly, as long as we have a quorum without that person,
That's done.
Not really.
it doesn't really have an impact.
Yeah, to me, it's getting a little too late for what we are.
Okay, so are you making a motion that we amend that? And remove it, or?
Or just going forward.
Well, we can leave it to what other people, is there any discussion? Should we leave it, or should we just try going forward just to have it be a roll call type thing? Because that's how I always kind of took it as.
So are we in discussion, or if we're gonna change it, I need a motion to change it, or I need a motion that we move forward and from this
I'll
point,
move that we just keep the call to order in the minutes as a roll call, not as a timekeeping thing. I don't know how to word that exactly, but.
I think that's pretty good. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
So you want me to take that out of the minutes?
No,
Just
because,
going forward.
Okay, I'm sorry.
okay. Okay. So, can we accept the minutes as amended at this point?
I so move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward to the house manager's report. Did everybody get a chance to read the house manager's report? Does anybody have questions for Kathy in regards to that report?
I have some questions.
Okay.
With respect to the word booked, in total number of 2022 revenue events booked.
I'm sorry, what sheet are you referring to?
Your managers.
Okay, I just want to look at the same thing.
Which sheet?
House managers report.
Page 1 or first page?
The first page. Yeah. Does that mean booked or actualized? And the reason I'm asking is because you know how sometimes you have events booked and then some get canceled. I'm just asking, is that how many revenue events were actually held
Are we talking about 2022?
Yes, the 2020.
Yes.
Okay,
And it's just a running tally.
right, but that's actualized. Okay.
It is at the point at which they happen.
I'm sorry I'm lost, but we're on this page already.
She's right here.
Oh, first page.
It's a running tally, so at this point it's actualized because 2022 is over.
Right.
Up until then, it may not be actualized.
Right. I'm just thinking ahead for that in the report we're gonna be submitting to city council. I wanna make sure that we're gonna be saying that it's right. So, and then I have a quick question about the senior center retreat. Is that a revenue generating event or is that considered a city event?
It's a city event,
Okay, all right,
and they're upstairs right now.
okay. And, I think it's great.
We don't charge the city for meetings here unless they're, like public facing, in which case we might charge them depending on what it is.
Okay. And I think it's great, we got $219 in donations. That's December 14th, that's great. I wanted to ask a question about the addition of the PEO chapter JH. So you added this, like the prior to recently added the Domino's and the Torca, without board input or discussion. We do know, and we've been talking about putting together club criteria because there is that fine balance between clubs at the house versus revenue generating events. While this one has historic significance, which is good, the PEO chapter, I think it's something that should be considered going forward, not to add any further clubs until we get that club selection criteria complete, which is on our schedule.
Until what?
The club criteria.
Did you not state, Sue Ellen, that we didn't want to add any more clubs at this time because of the
Renovations coming
renovations
forward.
and whatever? And that's why you felt that it was necessary that we didn't do a club criteria or putting forth, and yet there was discussion and disagreement that we should at least get a criteria together prior to having clubs, but yet we're adding clubs. It's like we're saying, yeah, we're gonna do this, but then we change the. Am I not making myself clear?
But we were already in discussions with PEO chapter JH. They've been considering it since before the 1st of December. So we were already in discussions with them. I had already given them the criteria. I'd already talked to them about the fees. We'd already looked at dates.
But
You didn't share that
You
last
didn't share
month.
it with us at all.
Honestly, adding clubs has been the purview of
It's
the
your
house
job.
manager.
Yeah.
That's my job.
It's her job.
Yeah.
I don't think she needs, I
No,
mean, I just.
it's just more
you're
of
gonna get that
you're
right.
in the talks of, it wouldn't.
You know, if I talked to you about everything I did, these meetings would be days long.
Well, with the fact that we've been discussing how to select clubs, I think that.
Well, I was absent from the November meeting,
But
and it's just been a discussion to this point.
right before the December meeting, so you could have said, hey, we're just in some discussions here, wanted to bring you up to speed.
I'm wondering if this is a discussion item further, it could be added to the agenda at the appropriate
It's actually
location.
later on the agenda.
So if we could continue just with the house manager piece at this point, it would be nice to keep the conversations organized succinctly by packet area, if that's okay.
Okay,
Then my last question for me is how is the online marketing being tracked?
I'm sorry, how is the what?
Online marketing being tracked. You're stating that there's this 20% increase in inquiries for revenue events in 2022, and that's resulted in increased bookings for 2023. And then you further state this is a clear indication that our online marketing is reaching a wider audience. How is that being tracked? Are all of those new bookings from online marketing?
First of all, I have a running tally of inquiries for years. So I looked at year-to-year inquiries from 2021 to 2022, and we've had a 20% increase in inquiries. Our biggest vehicle for driving inquiries is the Knot and Wedding Wire, or Wedding Pro, which is the two of them combined. And that information is on the beginning of every report about how many inquiries we're getting from where. And since we aren't really doing outreach in any other manner except word of mouth, the largest percentage of our inquiries are coming in from online.
And so when
And
they're
in
booking,
particular, Wedding Wire and the Knot.
and so when they're booking, are you confirming how they?
Most of the time I know where they came from. Every single booking, we have an inquiry sheet, and we track all of them. Which is how I give you the numbers on the earlier part of the report.
So those confirm they're from online.
Yes.
Karen, did you have any more questions?
Just want to confirm a couple of things. Last, Simone, did any donations come in through the QR code? I was just double checking on the Callahan House Fund report.
Not at this time.
Okay. It's great that we did have a total of $618 in donations from last year. That's wonderful. And it looks like there's about, from the difference between the revenues and the expenses, there's about 16,000 and a little bit more to be placed in the Callahan House Board from.
That number is actually closer to 14.
Just the expenses for the year don't close out as quickly as they do for personal.
Or the revenue for that matter. My sheet is more accurate.
So somewhere around 14 is gonna be added to the 48 that's
Yes.
currently in that house.
At
That's
some
wonderful
point.
news. Good.
At some point when they close the books for 2022.
That's wonderful news. Just wanted to,
Tends to be,
just wanted to highlight that
May-ish.
that's a very positive thing.
yeah.
Karen, thank you for helping.
Yes.
Because
It's very confusing, especially when we're not specific.
If you have questions, just type up.
I
Yeah.
probably should be passing down what
Yeah.
Telling
She's lost.
you.
I think, yeah,
Okay,
I've been eavesdropping.
okay.
Okay, I do have a question in regards to maintenance and facility updates. I think it's great that we got the new lights, but I still have a question, and I know, Kathy, when I brought this up in the past, you said to me, what's going on with this?
At the moment, we're kind of in a holding pattern because we're waiting to see what the actual outgo is gonna be for the grant. I don't wanna spend a lot of money and then come up short paying for the grant work.
So we can't fix the water leak because you're afraid we're gonna be short for the grant?
I'm waiting to see where the bids come in, where we end up on that, to make sure that we can cover the grant work. And Jim Berlin's been a little bit elusive, so I decided to wait till after the holidays to try to find him again.
Okay. And when did that occur again?
Late in 2021.
All right, I don't have any more questions in regards to your, to the manager's report. Does anybody else have any questions in regards to the manager's report? Kathy, did you have any highlights that you wanted us to be fully aware of?
December was just really busy with Christmas stuff, and between Christmas stuff and being sick, that was pretty much December. So there's not a lot of highlights, not much happened, from Christmas until the end of last week,
All right,
so.
well, thank you. Can I have a motion to submit Kathy's manager's report as submitted? Approve it?
And then we incorporate the report in our minutes.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Have we always had to approve?
No,
Something that we changed recently so that rather than restating
I can't
a
talk.
lot of her report
Dad.
in the minutes,
Dad,
we can just include the
Dad,
entire
I will call you back. All right,
as an
this is not a
attachment to
good
the
time.
minutes.
I love you,
So
I'll
it's
call you back, all right?
Yeah, but you still have
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna re-ask. All in favor? Moving on to old business, status of the grant project.
We're still in the selection process. I think we're getting very close. At the moment, we're actually taking a look at references. So. Been a little bit delayed by Kathy being out sick. I hope I don't get sick like that again.
Me too. Okay, holiday open house discussion for the 14th.
It was very well attended. People were very grateful and excited to see the holiday decorations. We did get a significant number of donations, and it went really, really well. It was myself, Jacqueline, and Betsy, and Connie was upstairs talking about JCPenney's. JCPenney. Sorry. Sorry, I added the S like almost 5 once. So it was very well attended.
She loved it. She was just, she was so glad that the house was open and she could just come.
And Karen laid down to take a nap.
I slept through the whole thing. At my house.
Fortunately, it
That's invitations too, but
Yeah.
there was
The only thing I would add here is they were very successful, and so I think we should move forward with getting bigger donation cups.
Actually,
They liked the big one down.
yeah, I just kept taking money out of it.
But just having a nice big one is nice. They could just toss it in. We don't have little girls taking $5 bills out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that
That's a good
it's,
idea.
I like that it's closed. So let me think about that.
Okay.
There's mixed things about that. If you have a real big one, then somebody might grab the jar and run out. I mean, I've been at places where they've done
We
that.
did the big one
and
down
they look
here.
full. When they look full, people feel a little pressure to do it too.
Okay, I'll go moderate. Let's go a little bigger.
There's really not a lot in between. I love they have big ones and they have little ones.
Yeah.
So and the part of the issue is they need to be attended. You can't really just walk away from them. So at least if they're little and you have to move, you can like pick them up and take them with you. I think the having them look full is kind of a marketing thing.
Yeah, but there's psychological there because if they're so full you can't stuff in, somebody's just gonna say, "Oh well."
Well, they
got
got
I think it stopped
Yeah,
me.
so half full is good. This is like cup half full.
For those of you who weren't here at our Santa open house, somebody stuck a $5 bill in and didn't get it quite completely in, and some little girl walked over and went.
Put it in her pocket, started in the pocket, or on her way out. It was Kathy and I just looked at each other and we're like going,
Did you
So she decided, I'm not gonna bother asking Santa, I'll just get them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I was like, well, okay, I've done this, now I'm just gonna go online, oh, there's this box of money here for me, I'll just take one. And I was just,
Hysterical.
it was really great.
Fortunately, her parents saw her do it, so we didn't have to say anything.
Anyway, my point is just a little cushion room in there would be nice.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I'll see what I can find. When I went and got those, we were trying it.
Yeah.
So, and they're not inexpensive. That was like $35. But that was the only one I could find in town. And looking on Amazon, I couldn't really tell what they were. So I'll look a little bit more.
It's kind of hard when you're looking online sometimes.
Yeah.
In regards to the open house, I just wanted to ask, in the past, I know for the Santa open house, we have the pictures and stuff upstairs for sale and books and whatnot, and we didn't sell anything. I also think that was kind of distracting with them being up there right next to Santa Claus because you got the kids and that's what they're really focused on. Is there any way that we could consider displaying something downstairs or on the table next to the fireplace to promote selling those?
It was more a function of
Space.
there were only two. Well, space was one, and the other one is it was more a function of who knew how to run the credit card machine. And since Sam was doing all the stuff at the front door and really needed to be focused on that, I put it upstairs because I was the only other person who knew how to run the machine. And I also think at that particular open house, trying to sell stuff is, people weren't here to buy stuff.
No.
That's, I agree with that statement. But I absolutely agree with that statement, Kathy, but for other open houses, I think it's possible.
Well, we've had it on the dining room table.
Can
And
we,
the parlor.
can we
Yeah.
move it someplace else that people
Absolutely.
would be willing to purchase? I mean, if it's in the corner up there, like I said, the families were too focused on Santa Claus getting their picture done, making sure they got their coats on and got back out the door. By the time that hit, they didn't, no.
Well, the other thing is we had, we anticipated that we were gonna have a lot of people sitting around and waiting. And the only table that's really big enough to do it down here is the dining room table, and I really didn't want people like fingering things and, so logistically, that was just a better place for this particular open house. And at Art Walk, we have to consider, whether we want an artist or a display. So we'll just going forward, we'll make decisions about where the best place is.
That's good.
And I'll train somebody else to run the credit card machine, so where I'm at isn't always the function that drives where we put it.
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I agree with your statements in that sense, and maybe we don't do it at our walk, but we consider having it here for all the other open functions. Okay, is any other comments need to be made, particularly about the holiday open house on December 14th?
Couple questions, so on the same line with those items, were they available for sale at the December 14th?
We didn't have the staff to support that.
Okay, and then, did you happen to get a guest list available so people could sign in?
I didn't at the December one.
Okay.
And we haven't had a lot of success with that at the other open houses, so we'll keep doing it. We'll put it someplace.
I think it's kind of a new, thing that we've just come up with as of
Yeah.
last year, and I think the more we get ourselves used to doing that at any open house, the better off it'll be, because we have several people from the community and beyond who say, I would love to know when something's coming up. And this is, like we've said, a way to reach out to them through constant contact with someone in a group email and say, hey, here's an upcoming event coming up at the Callahan House, please join us. So I think we need to make sure that we're including that.
And do you guys understand what we're trying to, just because you're new, and I'm trying to make sure that you're up to speed as with what we're doing and not just boiling over. If you have any questions with this group, please just.
Yeah, I have a quick question about the Christmas program for the children. Is that mainly for Longmont, Boulder County type residents, or can somebody from Erie or, I wasn't sure on that. I had a friend out in Erie, and I wasn't sure who.
I think it's open to,
Everybody's
everyone.
okay. That's what I,
So anybody can sign up on.
online, as long as they sign up online, okay. Just wanted to know.
Okay, moving on to the house manager's pictures project update. Where are we on the hanging system?
Sitting in the back porch.
It's here?
It's here, yes.
I am so excited. That is very excited news, very exciting news. Is that something that, do we know when possibly we can look at getting the pieces so we can call a meeting to work on those and get the pictures framed?
I guess I don't understand the question.
Okay. Is there a specific time that the system's going to be installed?
It isn't scheduled yet.
Is there any way that you can kind of let us know when that happens?
Absolutely.
Do a shout out.
So maybe this is something that we can be talking about next month, hopefully by that time it will be installed.
And one more question, are the pictures ready, are they framed?
Well, that's one of the things that.
I mean, do they have to be, does this have to be up before, or could you get them framed in advance and then just hang them?
Well, that's kind of what, we need to probably have a meeting to work on that project.
Just wondering.
So we can set that meeting now, we can choose, a time to set that meeting to go through those photos in order.
I have a question.
Or to put it into February.
Did you get all of the pictures?
Almost all.
Almost all of them.
Okay, so who's framing this system that you've ordered? That means the pictures need to be put into that system?
It's a hanging system, and so we can use whatever frames and we can change them
It's like at a museum, it's a hanging system.
It's wires.
It's
It's
wires.
a-
So they
bar
can be
with
moved or
wires.
manipulated in any fashion so we don't do damage to the wall for one. And so, what we've been doing is we've been collecting the house manager's pictures since the beginning of the house. Now, some pictures we have not gotten. There's, for example, a couple that was here that did it, and we have not been able to find a picture of them. But what we've done instead is we've decided to, Karen, do you want to explain that we've got the
Sure. For those we have a picture of, we'll include the picture and their dates of service and their name, of course. Those we don't have a picture of at this point, who knows, maybe down the line somebody will find a picture of these people. Then we can include, it's going to be like a silhouette of the gate, and then just their name and the dates of service, so that it honors all of the house managers over the years.
So the
About how many do you
There are
have
like
that need to be?
17 or 18, do I have that number right?
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. Actually, except for myself and Leslie Boynton, they're listed in the book I gave you and toward the back.
Good.
Yes.
So the work session you're talking about is when we physically put them into,
look at what frames we're going to use and put them together and decide which pictures would be used
that's what I meant.
from the research.
I can have them printed and bring them to that meeting, but then it's gonna be a matter of, collaboration of everybody saying, oh, let's put this in this and let's put this in this.
Some of the pictures are more flattering than others, so we had to kind of decide, one of the dear ladies was working and they caught her as she's working and she's kind of sweaty and had this look on her face, and that was the picture that was posted in the paper, and we're like, oh, we gotta find a better one.
We found a better one. We found a better one.
So how many of these past house managers are accessible, living and accessible, to get better pictures?
We don't know where most of them are.
I know.
Okay.
In the wind.
In the wind, and that's one of the big things is, like the couple I know that was here, I traced them back into working up in Estes, so we even looked in the Estes library and tried to find pictures that way, and we've not been able to. So we've done historic research on the stuff, and basically, if people want to be involved with that, with what we're working on, just kind of, it's a volunteer step forward. I would like to do that. That sounds interesting to me. Please put forth, because the more people working on this, the more ideas, or the better.
It's gonna be a fun project and it'll be beautiful when it's complete.
And it's to go on the upstairs hall, on the wall. So when people are,
How many are we missing? Ish. It doesn't have to be exact.
Maybe 5. And that's not much.
I'd like to
And that's
suggest
really-
that maybe we put all 5 of them on one silhouette instead of having 5 different silhouettes. I think we need to leave room for future house managers.
Basically, you're just typing.
I mean, it's just a
Yeah,
suggestion.
you
Since
can
it's just data, can't we just put them all in one frame?
Well, it'll depend on the sequence of how things are gonna hang. If they're gonna hang in chronological order, it may be something very small and simple. It's not going to take a lot of space for anyone we don't have a photo of. But having that space saved for them is probably not a bad idea, because in the event that we actually end up finding a photo.
and I think that's part of the reason why we talked about going with the hanging system that we did, because it can always be
Right.
moved.
I totally understand. The other thing I think, and I think once we get the system up, we'll have a better feel for it, but I think the frames need to have a little bit of weight to them in order for the wires to hang straight. So I don't think little bitty frames are gonna work very well.
One little one would be incorporated in a string.
Right,
several
got it.
bigger
Got it.
ones.
That makes
So,
sense.
you
That
know,
makes
it's
sense.
We're just not hanging one
Right.
itty bitty little thing of
On a wire.
So,
When you talked earlier about putting this one in this frame and this one, does that mean that you're gonna have different frames, different styles?
because
That's
of
the
the air, when they served, we were looking at trying to find frames that would be suitable for that time period, that would still blend and incorporate, but it wouldn't be,
They'd be more historical.
there would be more historic than
Plus, if they aren't all the same, we don't eventually run out.
Yeah.
Or have to change them all. I mean, that's a nice thought.
That's another reason.
So if we have frames to donate towards this,
That would be
Yeah.
wonderful.
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
what size are we looking at?
Any and all. Bring
Okay.
any and everything you got.
Bring your box.
Yes. Let's utilize that.
Because again, cost is, we'd
Yeah,
like to
sure.
keep
Yes.
costs down and keep it
Keep it
prohibitive.
Well, since we're talking about donating, is there any color, do you want them all black, or do you care if they're colored or anything?
Anything.
I think that's kind of where we're at. We're trying to keep the matting the same,
Yes.
and have
That's-
it be that way, but that's one of those things. So let's set a date and time to work on the house manager's plans. Anybody has any ideas? We'll work on calendars?
Wednesdays or Thursdays were good for me.
Wednesdays are not good days here. We're typically pretty busy.
On Wednesdays.
Thursdays are better.
I'll go with next Thursday, the 19th.
Actually, I can do the 19th. Does that work for anybody else? Waiting for my phone to
Fire up.
Yeah, I hate that.
Well, I turned it off for the meeting, so.
Yeah.
Completely understand.
I can do the 19th.
Are we looking in January?
Yes, we are.
Next Thursday, the 19th.
What works better
How many
for
people
everybody?
did you want? Are you looking at?
I think, and again, if we meet, we really, there needs to be 3.
Isn't it okay that if we're working on a project, it's okay?
It is fine.
It is fine, that's.
As long as you don't
That
have
was
any discussions
clarified.
about board business.
Yeah.
And no
that's-
discussions
This
will
is
be.
There's
just
a lot of
project
us
work.
that are postage.
Yes.
This is just project.
So why don't we first find out who wants to participate,
Yeah.
and then
Who would
worry
like to
about the meeting.
participate, yes.
Yeah, who would like to participate to work on it? So there's, wonderful.
So there's the phone.
And
So,
is your phone ready or are you?
It is
still-
ready.
So is that Candy, Karen Cruz, Karen Reed, and Maureen?
Yeah.
Okay.
And potentially, my brother gets into town that day, but
okay,
I'm not sure, depending on timing, I
okay.
might be able to.
I'm available too in the afternoon.
In the afternoon? So what time would work better for you?
Well, I'm not sure when he gets in or what the plan is that day, but yeah, if that works, I can be here.
So.
I'll just send an invitation, and if you can be here, you
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
here, and if you
Yeah.
can't,
Right
do
now
you want
I
me to
have
send
it
it to
right.
everybody?
So you say
Great.
afternoon, what time in the afternoon would work best for you?
Anytime after, actually, it's, anytime after 1 o'clock.
Seriously? Okay. So where are you guys at? With one more?
One word.
Or
Could we do 1:30?
Do you want to do 1:30? That sounds
1:30?
good. Okay, we'll go 1:30 then. All right,
Pencil that in.
wonderful.
Great.
Thank you. All right, and Kathy, thank you for sending out an invite on that.
And would we want to shoot for bringing any donated frames in there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is
Well,
the
and-
perfect time.
What will we have to represent photos? We have the actual photos?
I will
Yes.
print the photos.
And are they different sizes
They
now?
are.
Can you print up a note on what sizes you have, so
Yes.
somebody doesn't come with a 11 by 14 frame?
Yes.
Maybe the date of the person too.
Actually, can you just specify the
Yeah.
options?
I
Yes,
can, yes.
that would help.
Yes,
Otherwise you're gonna get a lot of frames you can't use anyway.
yes. Nothing larger than an 8x10, of course.
Okay.
Just know that much. Anything in between?
Nothing smaller than a 5
Oh
by 2.
darn, I was really trying to get rid of that huge
Probably.
one.
Yeah, that 3x2.
I think if you go smaller than
I
5
was
by
gonna say
7.
3x5 maybe for the ones that we don't have a photo of. So I'd say anything up to 8x10, and I'll cover it all.
And remember, we're trying to keep them more historic, so let's not do any like really way out there. Kind of frame, you know,
No, outer space looking things. Yeah.
with the rocket shipper and
Nice,
everything.
right.
Okay,
And that's here at the house.
yes.
I'll send out an invitation.
Okay, moving on to the past and present board member wall acknowledgement.
We just talked about.
No, we're talking about the house manager pictures.
So, last month Sue Ellen mentioned that she got that, scanned in and the files are to Kathy. Kathy,
I
can
still
you
need to send it to you.
please, and then that way I can put the names into, the legal size and print that
So
out.
legal's the size it's gonna be?
Yes, please, and then I can print that out and bring it to next month's meeting for everyone to take a look at.
Okay, we'll get that done.
So these are pictures of past and present.
No,
They're
there's
not-
names.
it's
We're
just
still on
a
house
list.
managers, okay.
Yeah.
We're actually, we're on
We've
process.
moved to D.
Yeah, we've finished house manager's project, we'll be meeting, next Thursday at 1
Yeah,
o'clock.
okay, so
We're
now,
now on past and present board members.
Okay, my-
All acknowledgements.
question is, how are you doing with getting all of those?
Not
These are
just
just
names.
names.
That's pretty
These are
straightforward.
just names and dates
Yeah.
of
No
service.
pictures.
No pictures.
And
Okay.
And it's
that's
a beautiful, nice, long list, about a little more than 70 names.
Wow.
Over the course of the history of the house, so it's beautiful, and we'll have it all together, in,
And the artwork is beautiful too.
yes, it is.
Erica did a really lovely job.
So,
Thank you for doing
yes, it's
So-
great
So
capture of the history.
can you explain what the artwork is? Because they don't know.
Yes, the artwork being used is, the letterhead that Tom Callahan used, and specifically the last letter that he had typed, to the board in 1938 included this letterhead of the image of the house, the picture of the house. It's beautiful, and it's a wonderful tie-in to the beginning of the board and the board members over the years. So having that as the letterhead, so to speak, of this list of all the ladies who served the house over the years is what that project's about. And it will be in, basically in one frame, and then potentially put in the meeting room. Is that where you're thinking of
I'm
placing it?
thinking actually at the top of the stairs, the pieces of the hanging system I think will extend all the way across that wall, including on the other side of the wall, and on the other side of the wall might be a great place to put it.
Okay, but it's just a beautiful way to capture all of the years of all of the ladies' service.
And the,
And many, many, many shies.
very
I was gonna ask if Mary's on there.
Oh,
Are you kidding?
absolutely.
There isn't a time when a shy isn't on there.
And as you remember, we had discussed originally that we had talked about maybe doing individual plaques, doing all that kind of stuff. And you were the one that brought up that, can you imagine what that's gonna be? And then all the plaques, and then trying to find a new plaque, and how discombobulated that could be at a certain point. And so we came up with this way that we can then update it.
Yeah,
And,
it can
and print new members on there in a very
To be
timely way.
simple.
So it's a
Simple.
framed letterhead with the names.
Yes.
Names and dates. That's it.
Just acknowledge.
So I will, if you'll provide it to me, I'll get that together and bring it to the next board meeting.
That works.
And that's, you said a legal size? So that'll be a custom frame then for that one?
It will likely be or just a larger frame.
By
I think.
14 or something maybe.
Maybe you can find it standard.
Yes, I will take a
There's
look
quite a
and
lot
see.
of legal size standard frames.
Yeah, take a look and see what we
So in other words, if anybody has any legal size frames,
Yeah.
that might not be a bad thing to bring.
So
All right.
about that 8 by 10, yeah, if you got a look, it'll be fine, we'll find something that will look nice and not be expensive.
Okay, moving on from the past and present board members' wall acknowledgement, we're going on to the scrapbooks. Connie, who has stepped off the board, was involved in doing the scrapbooks. I know, I didn't do a lot of the scrapbook stuff. Did anybody else? Karen?
I did.
Karen did?
So,
Okay.
yeah, I plan to pick up where she left off and continue that process, and then also move toward the process of digitizing.
That was one of
Scrapbooks.
the other things, so you know, we've had these scrapbooks that sit in the house, okay, that go clear back, and all the ladies have done the scrapbooks. One of the things that we've discussed is if, God forbid, there was a fire or an incident or anything that happened and we lost those documentations, we'd like to have those scanned and up in the cloud and digitized, so it also allows anybody to see this that wants to learn more about the house. That's a project that is been discussed. Just so you ladies are.
So the intended audience is external as well as internal.
Absolutely, because it's history.
And history should be open and open to the public, because this is a public facility. So, okay.
I do have a short addition to that. I ran into Susan Wallach. I don't know if everybody knows who Susan is, but she was the internet or web supervisor for the city. She just retired, I think last year, and her new project is digitizing things. So I have her part. So I just thought, and my other comment would be, I think this is a wonderful project. I'd like to maybe digitize one and then see how many people are really interested, because I also think that the cost to do it, unless we take it on ourselves, could be very cost prohibitive. So that's my thought process, is we pick one, maybe the oldest one, because I think that has a lot more interest in terms of history, and digitize it and then see how many hits we get, and how many people are looking at it.
I understand that you're concerned that not everybody's gonna get it, but I still think it's appropriate to preserve history and have it preserved so it doesn't disappear. And maybe that's something we consider doing a fundraiser for, or something along those lines. So we cover that, and we're not eating into anybody's budgets or anything, but maybe we work on a fundraiser to get donations to have that as a specific goal. Sometimes it's easier to get a project funded by working specifically on a goal, and maybe there's a small grant out there that we can get it through a community-based service through Target or someplace else that we could have that specifically covered.
Let's take a look at doing one and see what the process looks like and what it costs, and then figure out where we want to go from there.
Sounds good.
And if
Because
it
we
were
do want to do
digitized,
Eventually.
if it were digitized, then it would be an item that you would navigate to on the website for the Callahan
Yes.
House.
For the city.
That's the goal.
Thought process.
And the other thing I want to add to that is, since content management is a thing, and those pages are kind of a weird shape, we would have to figure out the right way to do that so that it was meaningful when people got into it. It's not, I don't think it's just as easy as scanning the pages, and I think there's more of a process to it.
I agree, Kathy, but that's part of the reason we've been in contact with Eric Mason from the museum and discussing exactly what's the best format to do that in.
Right.
Yeah, and I told him they were 12 by 12 pages, and he said, that's not a problem. So I think it's totally doable.
I think it's totally doable. I'm just saying it's a process. And I'd like to work our way all the way through the process from beginning to end with a specific book or set of pages and figure out how involved it is before we sign up for the whole thing.
That's a good idea.
You know, one way of generating funds might be that those books are out whenever we have people in the house, so that they can look at them, and then we have the donation jar, whatever it is, which you contribute towards the digitizing of these books. That's a great idea, and maybe reach out on social media too.
We do have to be careful though, because some of them are getting a little fragile.
Yeah,
So we don't
true.
want people,
really
especially
handling
children,
them.
you know.
Yeah,
So maybe have them out like, but not touchable.
right.
Open to a certain page.
Gloves, right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Eric, please be
Alarm
so
that's
proud
hard
of
to
us that we
control.
have
I know,
lots of
that's
gloves
the
there.
hard part.
How many books are there currently?
Roughly.
10 or 12.
Okay. And how often do they get created?
It's ongoing.
Just
They should be,
as
yeah.
One
fills
up, we
full
start
and
again.
then, okay,
They're
gotcha.
like this thing.
No, they're big. They're really
You
big.
know, they're
Wow.
like,
It's
they're
an
like
enormous
scrapbook
project.
thickness, you know, a couple inches.
Thank you.
12.
And back in the day, they had little tidbits and cards and napkins and all the little things that, like, that's so cool. So,
You know, at some point, those probably should be given to the archives. And we did, years ago when I first was on the board, there were a lot of things that we gave to the archives already. But that's the best way to preserve that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Then people can make appointments with Eric and actually delve into them. So if this digitizing works, then that should go to the archives. And then we go on to the
love
next one.
absolutely, I agree.
Those are held by the museum?
It would
Yes.
be wonderful.
So Eric,
Yes.
we
We have to submit them to Eric. Eric would write them to the board. They determine if they were going to submit them to the archive or not. And I would hope that they would. because they are
And
incredibly
we've already
special.
done that
And-
process at some
Yeah,
point, so.
they do have a Callahan House file, another large one, I know, because of diving through it, but
In there.
the scrapbooks are not in there, and you're right, I agree with that, they should be in there.
So can we chase that a little further down the road and see if by making them part of the archives, maybe the museum might digitize them?
Oh, that would be
Just an idea,
That's
they're digitizing lots of
Same
things,
thought for me.
just an idea.
That's awesome, because then he could put them on the website, the
Well,
museum's archive website.
On the other hand, I like the idea that they're accessed to with the house.
we could do a link.
We could do both,
You
yeah.
can tie things together
Take it out
digitally.
the expense.
I hear you, Karen, and I
Well,
agree, but
It's just an idea.
Yeah, so
That's kind of what they do.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I think, so we've got a lot of information here, and the scrapbook project is gonna be an ongoing issue. I think we should, put it on next month's agenda for sure to cover it, and then, would you like to set up a time to have somebody work on the scrapbooks with you, or, set up a meeting at this point?
Is
to move
any-
forward?
Well, is anyone interested in working on this project, along with me? That's,
I'm not a good scrapbooker.
Me, no.
that's okay, that's okay, everyone has their
There's-
passions or their things, and that's okay if this isn't one of those. I'm good with it, I can take care of that.
Would anybody be interested in actually seeing the scrapbooks, like one a month? Like next meeting, maybe bringing the,
Just
set
set
one out, and we put our white gloves on and we look at it?
Yeah.
I'd like to do that outside of the meeting,
Yeah.
not during the meeting.
Yeah, because we're
Yeah,
trying
no,
to keep it.
outside of the meeting.
Okay, we could do
Yeah.
that.
And it could take some time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really
wonderful.
look at it, yeah.
Okay, all right, so let's kind of plan on doing that outside of the meeting, because we're gonna be looking at meeting times and stuff coming up here. So, moving forward, then, if there's no further discussion on scrapbooks, the Callahan House Advisory Board Annual Report to the City. That's one of the things that I've been working on to finalize as soon as we get all the numbers, and then I need to set up to submit it into the city clerk and then have it so we can present it to city council. We need to be able to get that on their agenda.
So I have a question here too. This is something new?
No, this is the annual report. In fact, you've done one where it was submitted
you've
into.
Your name's on them.
It's okay, it's okay, it was years ago, but
It was
okay.
years ago in which we submit information of what we've been doing, and unfortunately, when I came on as chair, I wasn't aware that this was something that needed to be done until I delved into the past records. And it's important that we're relaying what we're doing at the house, that we're continuing to inform, so the city council is aware, so the public is aware that we're here, this is what we did, we're still working and doing things during COVID, and just catching up on those reports.
Is there a format that the city provides in this
No,
week?
we're using a format that has been used in the past by the board itself.
Okay.
Same format.
And is
Use that
this
in the
with
building.
information that would be different than what Kathy presents? to the
Um,
council?
No, not really.
It's kind of a summation.
It's just a summation of what we've done, about what clubs are here, who we're accessing, just so people are aware of it and relaying the information to city council.
So it's not a detailed thing like the regular reports?
It's like 2 pages.
It's like,
Okay.
it's like,
For the year?
it's like an
Try to keep it
overview,
to 2 pages.
and we're covering 3 years because it wasn't done. And we're very lucky to have a mayor with us, but we haven't had a city council person here to relate back to city council and tell them what we're doing. So it's just important that we're keeping that touch. And as an advisory board, we have to be able to tell them what we're advising. If the information's not going anywhere, it wasn't. So again, it was actually under what the chair was supposed to be working on every year. So we'd like to catch up and do that and finalize the report. I would like to do that this month, working with Karen, who's the acting secretary, and Karen as past secretary. Could we set up a time to do that?
How does that get submitted?
Again, I believe we submit it to the city clerk.
But just, I mean, it's a
Are you-
physical.
Are you thinking of it being an information item that is included within the city council's packet?
Yes.
I can submit those on behalf of the board.
Thank you.
And maybe Joan can explain a little about the process.
Right, you submit it to city clerk, and then she gives it to Harold, and Harold and I make up the agenda for each meeting. So it depends upon how full the agenda is for a certain date, when it will be on the agenda.
Because there's a lot of stuff that they're doing, so.
Right. And there's an online portion, process by which items are introduced for
Yes.
consideration. So I'm able to do those. So when you have your final document, I can get those into that.
So that would be
Perfect.
wonderful.
That's great.
So,
And then the city clerk will advise you as to when it's going to be on the agenda, so you can be there to present.
Thank you.
and you would have notice.
Well, that's the question, you have to be there to present it?
Yes, at the podium.
I don't remember that either.
I think it was handled differently.
It could have been.
I don't believe it was. Because Mary also did one, and so.
You did it.
Yours, the ones you had most recently is one I use as a
Template.
template.
And that's what we're doing. All right, so what works on your calendars, ladies?
I can do Tuesday the 17th. And Monday the 23rd.
I'm good on the 23rd. If you could do the 23rd.
Yes, okay.
Okay. If we can't meet here at the house, could we meet at the library?
Or you're welcome to come to my house.
Are you gonna make goodies?
Sure.
Okay then, let's go.
All right.
We're there.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Morning or afternoon?
It really doesn't matter.
It's okay.
What works for you?
Can we go 10 o'clock?
Yes.
10 o'clock?
10 is great.
All right. Okay, guys, January's always tends to be a long meeting, unfortunately. Moving on to, first of all, is there any more old business that's not stated on the agenda? Okay, moving on to new business, posting location for agendas and cancellations.
The standard posting position or posting location now is the web, with a backup location at the 350 Kimbark. So we just need a motion to do that.
I so move.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motions passes. Okay, that's quick and easy.
Good.
Okay, election of new officers. Just so you know, there are 3 positions for officers. There's the chairperson, there's the secretary,
You're good to go with that.
and there's
Historic.
historian. I'm sorry?
Just continue, please, sorry.
I just have a question for Sue Ellen.
So I thought it would be easy if we, kind of easier to do a slate. And then we can vote easier rather than doing individual offices. So is there anybody that's interested in serving as an officer?
Serving as an officer. Yeah.
In what position, Karen?
I'd like to be a historian. I've been chairperson for a couple of years. I've served as secretary for a couple of years, and then just a few months as well. And historian is certainly something I'd like to continue with. It also includes the scroll house.
Anybody else?
I'd like to run for chair.
I like for chair as well. Is there
anybody that would like to serve as a secretary or as chair, and we put it out there and just,
I'll do secretary. I would, you're going to do secretary.
Love you.
Alright, I guess, so is there anybody else vying for any other positions besides the chair?
That's the one that's got 2 candidates.
I guess we'll put forth a vote on that. So I'm not sure how you want to do that. Do we want to just go ahead and just do a show of hands?
Do you, or do you want a piece of paper where you can write down?
That's probably kinder.
I'm just gonna rip up some papers,
Yeah.
okay?
Paper stack would do.
I'm a good ripper.
Would it be possible, since not everybody knows everybody very well, would you be able to say a few words about what you would like to, what contribution or what you could add to the Callahan House Board meeting as a chair, as the papers are being
I'm doing great ripping.
Straw poll here.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to, this is my last year on the board, my 6th year, and I was chairman once before. I'd like to keep it just working forward, preserving the house, preserving the historical value of the house we have to work on, and we all want to stay friends doing it. And I would like to just keep it so we're all involved. I think, we want to have everybody and have a participation in it if possible. And that's all. I just would like to help lead.
I think it's important that we continue traditions of what the board is. The chairperson helps set the agenda, and by doing so, it kind of helps drive the work aspect of it. I hope that everybody is willing to work and volunteer, and I know Anne has said this isn't a job, but it's important that we are working to help preserve the home and its purpose. So that's it. Okay.
You want me to take them?
Council.
Really?
You're like on council, it would be so easy.
You guys
Thank
nice
you.
buttons at council that
Yeah.
which is nice.
everybody in?
So I have them
I'll
all.
check.
I'll just walk in the other room,
Just
open them up
a
and
sec.
tell you what the result is.
I think we need one more.
Am I missing one?
Yeah, you missing one.
I'm sorry.
Here it comes, here it comes.
Oh boy, I'm
It was well deliberated.
The account with her, so we've got
Yeah,
two
that's right. Make her accountable.
We don't want any fraud.
Gross. Yeah, that's right. Oh, fraud. This would be a good time to get some coffee, right?
Yeah.
Let's get it. Yeah.
So I have a 10:00 meeting with her in 15 minutes. I'll leave it
So
about
you-
5.
I'm so glad you could come.
Thanks, I'm very quiet, and it was fun to listen to hear what's going on.
Thank
and-
you for being here. I can't thank you enough.
It's so nice to have you here, thank you.
Oh, sure. I worked with one of your relatives at my one hot French. And Michelle. What's she doing now?
I've been retired for quite a while, and lots of ribs, mahjong.
All that fun stuff.
Yeah,
Well, tell her hi.
I will.
I really enjoyed it.
I will. Our kids went to school together.
Mine and yours?
My Jennifer
Oh,
And your
that's
son.
right.
kids. They're not kids.
I know.
They're always our kids.
Yeah.
The older I get, the younger they are.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our 2023 chairperson is Anne.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, so I will finish the meeting
Go ahead.
and then we'll.
I have to go home and read Robert's rules.
So I think you need to do a motion to accept the office.
I'm doing that.
Alright, thank you.
As the board's, as a slate, accepting the officers as Anne as president, as candidates, as secretary, and Karen Cruz as historian. Can I get a motion, please?
I so move.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, moving forward, down to the meeting, date and time. This is one of those things that we've discussed in the past of we can always change the meeting date and time. And it's been discussed that we should possibly consider moving the date and time, that to make it easier for getting new members onto the board and making it easier to the anticipation. What's the thoughts?
I'd like to propose we move back to our 9 o'clock time, start time. We used to be 9 when I,
It was
yeah, and then we moved it to 8:30, but 9 is really nice for me, for me anyway. I don't know.
yeah.
Everybody has their own, so I'd like to hear other people's ideas on it, but, in the winter especially, because, you know, if it snows, the plows don't get out early enough. Now, in the summer, it's different, you know, you get up early and all that. I'd like 9 o'clock for myself, so.
The reason why we suggested moving it and it was accepted by the board is because we had a member that had to leave for a commitment. So that's why it was shifted to 8:30. I'm of the opinion that we should consider moving the meeting to an early afternoon so we can get other, we are an open meeting and I think we should be able to have other people that work and do other things to be part of the house. And by meeting in the day, it doesn't always make that easy for other people to be involved with.
What do you mean by other people?
The community members that work that can't be here, that would like to be part of our board. Other boards in the city meet in the early evenings, 5 o'clock, 4:30, opening it up for other members to participate other than just retirees or individuals that can make this work. It's a thought.
But you're talking about people who are not on the board who just
Currently,
well,
but we, in the past, we've had a hard time getting people, we had
To
3
serve on
open,
the board.
to serve on the board.
but we've already got that.
Yeah, we got it.
So let's just go with what we've got.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
people
would
who are here,
Yeah.
what's convenient for all of us and not worry about
Future.
later on.
You're gonna get
And
another
later
chance
on
next year to
happens.
reset the meetings.
Yeah, we can always reset the meetings.
Well, do we have any concern that we're being exclusive in choosing a daytime time meeting? I think that's something to consider. I don't know how other boards function or if they try to focus on after business hours. Joan, do you have anything to share about that?
Yes, it's complicated. If you are looking for younger people to be involved, then it has to be outside of the workday, unless they're self-employed. If you know, and I think what Maureen was talking about is as you term out, attracting new people, what do you want? Do you want younger people who will serve longer? Do you want people who understand history, which might be older people, because we lived in some of the history? So that, I think, are the discussions you need to have. Do you want outside, this is an open meeting, do you want other people who are just interested in historical things to be able to come and just listen? Then it would have to be outside the workday, I would think, or maybe during lunchtime. You could have an hour and 45 minutes of a lunchtime,
Have
maybe
we,
once a month.
have we had a lot of requests for people to come?
I am the last public person who attended a meeting, and that was 12 years ago.
Are we talking about like either the 8:30, 9 a.m. and then or after 5 o'clock or kind of a?
It's open
Or
for
a lunch
discussion.
hour.
Sure.
Lunch
Yeah.
hour, so that
What
it's
does everybody
available
think?
to anyone.
Speaking as someone who does work full time,
Right.
I work in Boulder, so personally for me the lunch hour thing is not great to drive back to Longmont.
Right, back and
And go
forth.
back to Boulder, that's just me. But the 9 a.m. sounds great. I could also do after the workday, but I like the idea of starting my day and coming in, but I could see how it could be more attractive to other audiences who work full-time at night, but if there's not a lot of interest there, it makes sense to make it as accessible for this group as
It's
possible.
never been done. So this meeting has always been a daytime commitment, and it's been normally by retirees that have been on the board. I think that's one of the things that in the past we've had a hard time getting people to serve on the board, and that was a discussion about possibly moving our time. And that's, personally, I like it during the day, but I think, again, it's, if we can open it up to get more people involved, I'm always encouraging to do that.
So the next time that it would be open up, there's not an opening before next year, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
So maybe at that time when we open it up, we could say meetings subject to or
We can get a
TBD, so that
Yeah,
people can
exactly.
submit their interest without, being put off by the meeting time.
Exactly.
And then maybe at that time, depending on who you want on the board, you find a meeting time that works for everybody, and then maybe
Right.
that, it keeps
Going
that
forward.
open for people that aren't,
And just so you
burdened by
know,
the time.
this is something that, we had a retreat and we discussed, and we decided that this should be discussed at January. Every January, it should be open and discussed and rediscussed on when we should be doing the meeting times. So,
Depending on who's on the board.
And I think we've
that
done
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, we have.
Always done it.
We have. It's been on the agenda every January.
Yeah.
In one form or other.
So I move that we keep our meeting day on Wednesdays and move our meeting time to 9 a.m.
I second.
Second meeting
Wednesday.
to it.
Second Wednesday of the month?
Second Wednesday.
Yes.
Yes.
Second Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m.
And who was the second? I'm
I'll
sorry.
second that.
We kind of.
And
And
beat me.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay,
Done.
done deal. We also stated that we'd look at calendar and look at open houses. So moving on to the open houses of 23, we should decide when to open and schedule open houses for the year.
Let's start with how many do we want? I mean, before we schedule, how many open houses do we want?
I'd like to start with 1 a quarter. And see how we do.
What has it been so far?
We're coming off of a pandemic, so life
It has been.
before pandemic, with pandemic, I think the slate's pretty open at this time.
And we currently already have 2 on the
Yeah, we have
schedule
some.
for 2023.
Okay.
Art Walk is on September 9th, and the Santa Open House is December 1st. So that would be 3rd and 4th quarter, although I would like to have a second one in December like we did this year.
I agree.
I agree,
That's
I think
real.
it's worked really, really well.
Yes. And the house shows so well in December.
It does.
Beautiful.
Would it be possible to propose that second December date? Maybe it could correspond with Longmont Lights?
I think that's a
that
great idea.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Or,
I
Or-
don't wanna do it that weekend, because everybody wants to be down there.
well, I'm wondering sequentially, like if it's the weekday that you have, that it's part of that week celebration is a possibility.
Would you know what the dates are for this year?
It's usually the 9th or 10th of December, so maybe a Thursday or the Wednesday.
So that would put us doing 2 open houses back to back,
Oh, gotcha.
because of the Santa Open House.
When is Santa?
Santa's the 1st of
December
December.
1st.
First?
Although,
December 1.
well, see, and we can't do the 6th because we have clubs.
Oh, true enough.
Actually, we don't have clubs that evening. So we could do the 6th if you wanted to do one on the 1st and then another one on the 6th.
December 6th, which is a Thursday.
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday, I'm sorry. Okay.
Can I throw a monkey wrench in?
Sure.
Please do.
You know, the home tours
Yes.
that are held the first weekend of December, the Habitat
Yes.
is now in charge of those. And I've heard them mention that Callahan House would be wonderful if they could put Callahan on the tour. And they did Hoverhome at some point. I mean, we did Hoverhome. So I'm just throwing that out there to see if there's any interest in that type of thing.
That's wonderful, because that ties well into what Connie Newman just was saying at the end of the year, saying it would be really great if we could bring the house back into the tour of homes.
Because at one point it was, wasn't
And
it?
she had suggested, hey, we weren't necessarily part
No,
of
we
it,
haven't
we
been
just
included.
had it open at the same time, so she explained.
That was the case. It was open
Actually,
at the same
yeah,
time.
our original dates for the Santa open house were driven by the tour of homes dates.
Okay.
Now, my comment about participating in the home tours, and we actually did look at it pretty hard one year, is because they have requirements about, who's gonna decorate and the fact that things are for sale in the house, it really was not a good fit for us. Because they weren't gonna decorate on our schedule, and then as soon as the tour of homes was done, all of the stuff was gonna go away because it was gonna get sold.
Right.
So it didn't really turn out to be a very good fit for us.
It's a lot of work.
It's like 3 days, isn't it?
It is
3 days, and our Santa open house is already tentatively scheduled for the first day of the home tours.
So that doesn't.
But are you
Well,
saying that
especially
we
since
can't have our house decorated as we would normally? And we
No, that was not the way it worked.
It doesn't work that way, but
No.
could we piggyback like what we've done in the past, where we have an open house at the same time?
Well, that would put us doing
We have
2
done
back to back.
Before,
We have done that.
Yeah, that's how we started.
so.
That's how we started the Santa open house. It was in conjunction with, actually, and it was before Santa became a thing. We actually had the house open
The
one
same,
day during
one
the
of those days.
and we piggybacked. That's how we started the original December open house.
When you first talked about a second one in December after Santa sometime, what was the thought about what that would be?
This year we did a weeknight, and that worked quite well. And that's kind of what my thought was. Is a
Our
weeknight.
numbers
But
were
is
still
it,
really
is it
high.
Christmas
Yeah.
related?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's just for people to see
Just
the
the house
decorations.
was
See,
decorated
the difference
and
is that Santa night is mainly by reservation and only people with kids get to see the beautiful decorations. So we decided we needed another one so that just the general public could come in.
And there was no reservations
No
required,
reservations.
so you could come and when it
Open
opened
it
it
up
up.
to more.
Yeah,
And we had 228 attendees.
I think that would be a lovely thing. I can see, like a little chorale singing.
Oh,
I don't know what you guys do,
A little
but,
corral thing.
you know, there's so
Can you tell
many-
us what that means?
Oh,
Oh, corral
Christmas,
singing.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. Because I know at Christmas time, several of my friends get excited about anything going on in town that's Christmassy, just to get you in the mood.
Right.
And I know lots of people who would love to come in here and see kind of an old-fashioned Christmas celebration. I think it would be lovely with wassail or whatever you do. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Sure, that's what you
No,
know.
I think that's great.
When's the lighting?
That second.
It's usually, isn't that usually the last weekend
November.
in November?
It's this past year is the 9th and 10th of December.
Well, it's lights. She's talking about the Christmas tree lighting, right?
I'm not sure
I'm
what
sorry,
it's
what
like.
was that?
Whatever the city event is that brings people
Oh,
out.
lights.
Oh, the holiday,
the
parade
down-
lights
the
or?
parade and everything, yes.
Is it the downtown? Don't they do two different
They
things?
do,
Yeah.
they light all the lights down at Roosevelt.
I don't want to do the same dates.
And then they have a parade.
Right.
So what if we corresponded with going with the lights down at Roosevelt Park?
The lights down there turn on the day, they are on generally before, but they strive for the day after Thanksgiving is when the lights down there turn on. So,
So is that what you were suggesting, or were you suggesting we do it in conjunction with Longmont Lights?
I'm thinking in conjunction with the
My
congestion.
Yeah.
But in conjunction, because I went to that and then people walked around that and then people were still wanting to go and do things. And if they're right in this area, driving around, you know, it might be a good thing to have an open house at the same time.
I don't wanna do it at the same time.
well,
That's
or,
what day again, I'm sorry.
well, that's a
That's so
Friday and a
early.
Saturday.
So we have the
Right after
Friday
Thanksgiving.
as the Santa day, but are you saying that the Saturday, the second is?
That's the parade.
So-
I guess what I was kind of thinking, was that it could be a week of different things that could be done. The Longmont Lights, the particular Friday and Saturday is heavily staff involved and also parking prohibitive. So
Yeah,
those may not be the best, two dates, but either sometime preceding or sometime immediately following,
which
which
is why I suggested the 6th.
Yeah.
could be nice, because it could be advertised as a package, start here, go here, go here, or go here, and then go here. You know, like, either way, it works out.
It can be.
One thing we
So we
don't
can
have
do the
trouble
6th
with
or the 7th.
is getting people. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had a full house, so if you advertise, which you've done an excellent job, yeah, we don't have to piggyback.
That's
No, we
true.
really don't.
What if
We
we do,
wanna be,
could we do the 7th?
We could,
And what day is that?
that's a Thursday.
So wait a minute, is that Santa?
No, Santa's the 1st.
December 1st.
Oh, okay, that's the first.
So the 7th for the open house instead of the Friday or the
It's a
6th?
Thursday rather than a Wednesday.
I think it's tomato.
Yeah, I agree. And as we get closer, we can adjust if we need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if anybody mentions Callahan on the home tours to me, I'll say, We've already discussed it. No,
Nice.
We got the
Which
first
is
and the
the
second.
home tour schedule?
the first weekend in December.
They always
That's
go.
all.
So the 31st of November and the
I-
30th of November.
I agree with what Catherine's saying, if we lose all the decorations and everything, that's just not a,
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's a
not-
non.
And we would have to decorate and then redecorate, because
That's
the
not-
decorations are for the clubs too.
Right.
So I just don't think it's a good fit, unless they would make an exception and let us just do our own
Yeah.
decoration, but that's still a lot, that's a lot of foot traffic, and it's a lot of hours to staff the house.
It is.
Yeah.
A
it
lot,
is.
talk to
A lot.
Candy about that.
That's three, yeah,
It's
it's a lot of
crazy.
work.
Before we move on, can I bring up something about decorations for the house? And this is my opinion, so I'm just gonna throw it out there, but we have beautiful trees in every room, but I'm thinking the foyer, however you pronounce it, tree needs a facelift. I think we should find a throw for some new decorations. It's not a happy tree.
I think it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, but it's very
And
subdued.
but it's also very fitting for the house and the time period. And
I like a tree that says, I'm a tree. And so
I would
think
love
we
to
should
table that for now.
Yeah.
It's
Probably a
really
good
not
idea to
part of
table
this
that for
discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Let's discuss that.
let's get on with the
It's
open
not
houses and then we can discuss that with the Christmas decor backup.
I just wanted to bring it up early because I think we got to put some money into new decoration. And I like what's there, but it's just so subdued, and I just want something lively.
I think it goes nicely with the
Okay.
Maybe class.
historic
Can we,
feel of the
Guys,
house.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna table this
Yeah.
discussion
Okay.
because let's move on with
Well,
our
we're still at open houses.
open
because
houses, and we
we're
only
really-
have 3.
Yeah,
Right.
we're really heavy on the latter end of the.
Yeah, the lake.
So
So-
art walk, we used to do 2 art walks,
We only do one now.
and now are we only doing one?
there's only one.
There's only one scheduled, okay, so should we schedule a summertime open house? Sure.
I think we can set a date in sand and just
I like
target it and then just maybe tweak it if something
Right.
comes up.
it. I like it.
I think all of this is,
All this is penciled
Liquid.
in.
it's just pencil and getting it on the calendar, if it doesn't get on the calendar, it won't happen at all. So,
Are we liking June better than July?
I'd rather
gets
go
to
for
the
July,
house.
June's very busy.
June, very
June's
busy,
with
okay.
weddings.
June's
So
very
July
busy,
is better for the house.
yes.
Okay, so July is kind of the month we're looking
And
at.
I'd like to stay off the weekends.
Right.
And
We're already working lots of weekends.
Sure.
You got
Okay.
weddings and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Can we consider, I know everybody wants to do their own thing for the holiday, for the 4th. But that being said, that's when we're gonna get foot traffic too, because people are wanting to do things. So, I don't,
What's the suggestion? I guess I don't.
do we
I'm not
wanna do
following.
it within the first week?
Talking about July 4th.
You know, a lot of us may be on vacation.
That's what I just said.
I think we ought to go over the middle of the month.
The middle or the end?
Yeah, middle and end.
Okay, what would you suggest, Ann?
You know, I'm open, I'm not going anywhere in July, I don't think, is that crazy? But, middle,
So July 12th, like a Wednesday? Or
Let's
you
just
saying-
pencil that in because it's penciled anyway.
yeah, July what, 12th?
Yes.
That's not a great day.
Okay.
I have an afternoon commitment and we have a club in the house that day, so getting it cleaned up and reset.
Okay.
And I'd rather do a day that we're not crazy busy.
Okay.
Thursday work better?
Because you have your calendar, Kathy, what would be
Yeah,
the
what
best
works,
day?
what works.
We could, and here's the other issue. That's actually a bad week to do an open house unless we do it before Thursday. Because we have a wedding that weekend and I don't wanna have to completely clean the house again before we can do the wedding.
Okay.
Custodian's scheduled for Thursdays, so, if Wednesday, and we can't, Wednesday's bad, I could do Tuesday.
Tuesday the 11th.
We could do Tuesday the 11th.
Can we go forward to the next week?
Yeah,
The
could we
19th?
go on the, or the 20th?
19th or 20th?
I can't do the 19th because we have a club in the house.
What about the 20th?
That's cleaning day. Right.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
well, actually, that, at the moment, that week's not hanging, I gotta look.
So it sounds like the 11th is really gonna be a little better for right now.
Or Tuesday?
We could
Yeah,
do,
the Tuesday the
we could
11th,
do the 18th.
or Tuesday the 18th.
I can't do the
Okay. So in your book, Kathy, is the 11th are the 11th and the 18th kind of equal in, you know, flexibility, okay, you know, doability?
18th. Or the 20th, with the 20th one?
There's,
I don't wanna, we have,
Not
I
on
don't know what's-
Thursday.
If they
Hang on just
clean
a
on
second.
Thursdays, if that's.
But if they clean and then we're ready to go in the, because it's gonna
We
be
get
an
a good
evening,
weekend.
it's an evening open
I
house,
don't wanna
isn't it?
do the 20th, because again, we have a wedding on the weekend.
Oh, okay.
Same
Gotta
problem.
Stay clean for the wedding.
So I could do,
The 11th or the 18th is what we're kind of toggling between, right?
Now, Wednesday.
what about the 25th?
Okay.
Could we do the 25th?
Sure.
Sure.
Just 3 times, so that's.
I got a pencil. See, I got a pencil to this.
Oh, you're so smart.
So July 25th?
Yeah.
Does that work for everybody's calendar?
At this point in time, yes.
So far.
I could do the 26th too. Which day is better, Tuesday or Wednesday?
I like midweek myself, but
That's because Wednesdays are hump day and it's good.
Just a question, then when these are weekday, did you say they're evening?
yeah.
Yes.
And they're usually what, 2.5 hours?
2 hours is
2
what I
hours,
recommend.
okay.
Is it
What would
something
you
like-
prefer, Tuesday or
6 or
the
7?
the Wednesday?
It doesn't matter to me.
And what's typical, or is that up in the air, typical time?
You know, like what we do last time, 4:30 to 6:30.
Yeah.
And we were out here by 7.
Now, the other things like Art Walk
is
is
a little bit
4.
different.
It's like 4.5 hours.
Art walk is 4 to 8
It's
with a little bit of commitment before and after.
But these are shorter, so they're.
And art walk is usually when?
September 9th.
Ninth.
And I'll put all these on the calendar once we've decided.
I just wanna get a feel for the whole.
Yeah. Now, we had mentioned quarterly, doing these.
Let's finish, can we finish
Yeah,
this
let's-
date?
Can we go for the 25th? It's the
Sure.
middle of the week, I think people will have,
Well, that's the Tuesday. Is that fine?
the 25th?
Then
26th is.
The 26th is what I meant.
that's fine.
26th being Wednesday. That
4:30
would
to
make it-
6:30?
Yeah.
All right. I'm okay with that.
You make a mess, then the cleaners come in on Thursday and then.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
That's a good
I
idea.
always have to think about that.
It's,
Well,
you
the
go
good
that
point
way.
there is maybe we should schedule all these.
It's a big
things
circle,
once.
so it's
Okay.
two circles for that
If
reason.
we can try it.
If we can do it, just for that reason, to have it clean the next day.
Okay.
So my question is, do we want one for first quarter?
It would be nice if we could somehow put,
The trouble with first,
It's the weather.
I was just gonna say, you
Yeah.
got snow and slush coming in,
That's a big question mark.
so maybe not first quarter.
I mean, we just had two, so I don't think there's any big push.
When we did art walk twice a year, it was what,
It
April?
was in May.
May.
Yeah,
It was in May, and we had weather issues.
you never know.
Yeah, it was cold and rainy as often as it was nice.
So maybe we don't do one first quarter. I don't know
So
where
for
everybody.
this year, it may not fit.
I would not recommend first quarter.
Well, we're also dealing with when we're going to, the other thing that we're having to consider is we're gonna work on the grant and people will be in and working on the house.
That's right.
And that could have a play with all of
That
this.
may affect these dates.
It's gonna mess up
Yeah.
the dates.
So,
Right now, July is not very busy, so just a caveat that may end up being when some of the work's being done and we may want to reconsider. But, well, let's put them all on the calendar and we'll go from there.
so we decided first quarter's off, and is that true? Does everybody kind of agree because of weather, that we're not gonna do something first quarter because of weather? Okay, so let's look at second quarter. And Kathy,
What about my
because
fingers?
you have your calendar in front of you, you know which dates work better. So
I don't want to do June.
You don't wanna do June at all.
Nope, and
That's why we took
I mean,
July.
we just talked about the weather in April, May, the weather's kind of iffy.
We've got 4 of them here.
I mean, we could
We're good.
go down, sometime in May,
The
but I don't
problem-
think
the
April's a
problem
good
with-
idea.
It's the horrible month of May, everybody's doing everything in May.
I
and
agree.
trying to
Vacations,
squish it.
weddings, and it's just.
And
So the
it's
option would be
crazy.
April, and we're back to the weather problem, maybe. Do you wanna do one in April?
We can,
I think
we can
April's-
we can put it on the calendar and,
Not advertising, just to have it.
And
not
on
go
the
forward with
and
it.
keep it a little,
See how it is.
low key.
Yeah.
And see, and since you can get out constant contact information fairly quickly,
And that's working very well.
if, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If we're able to go forward with it,
I
then.
mean, especially if you guys are willing for if you did an April date and a July date to allow those to be outside of the brochure, but in the email blast, because to allow us the greatest flexibility with the construction,
Right.
restoration
Absolutely.
schedules, then
Right.
we've got something tentative for your schedules and calendars, and then we can look at that as when the selected contractor is, to see if that's still viable.
Yeah, let's try for April.
How about April 26th? That's Wednesday, April 26th.
Yeah, we like those 26.
Okay, that works.
Okay, so, and we agreed we're not gonna do a brochure for either the spring or the summer open house.
Just to allow the greatest.
Yeah, to give us flexibility.
Yes.
All right.
There are 4 then.
All right, there's actually 5.
September.
Actually, 5.
Yeah, 2
It's
and 5, which
just
works
the
out
same.
right.
All right,
It's beautiful.
done.
Beautiful, thank you guys.
Okay, moving on. Okay, club affair, 15 minutes. The club affair was one of the things that we've discussed about doing, and we wanted to put it on the calendar. And club affair in the past has been an event that we posted and had different clubs come up and do availability. I'm inclined to say that we table this again, simply, I think it should be back on the agenda, and it continues that we should be addressing it. But it's one of those things that I don't think we really can plan for and do because of the construction, at least for this year. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that I don't think we just don't discuss it and we don't kind of throw out ideas on what it could look like. To put out there to do that. It's one of those things that, to me, club affair and the club selection criteria kind of are intertwined to a certain degree in this discussion, because we don't want to promote, we want to have clubs, we definitely want to have clubs, but we don't want to promote clubs to the excess that we can't meet or sustain what they would like to do, and then people are put off by that and said, well, I tried that and I'm not going to do it again. That would be not a good PR point for us, I think. Again, it's personal opinion, but so where does everybody else stand in the club affair appointment? What do you think?
would suggest that along with the club selection criteria be tabled till the next meeting perhaps.
Okay. We are running over on time. I still think we should set up, I'm gonna disagree in the sense that I think we should set up a group of us volunteers to look at what the selection of the criteria should be. So we could bring it back to the board meeting to have something actual to talk about.
Working on it's kind of outside to bring it back to the next board meeting wouldn't be a bad idea. Because then that way, at least there's something to discuss.
I think there's really two conversations. Could we finish the club affair conversation and then move to the next one? Because I don't think they're as related as Maureen does. The club affair is an event. The club's criteria is completely different. So can we finish one conversation before we move on to the next?
So as far as club affair is concerned, I suggest then that we table that because it is an event. It was a fundraiser, that's what it was set up for. And whether we need that or not, I think it deserves discussion, but I think we should table that.
Okay.
Okay. So
I move that we table that discussion.
Until
So next second, that till next
Okay.
month. Yeah.
okay. All in favor?
I
we're gonna move it to February.
Yes. Okay.
take this to
The criteria. So I'm sorry that there's a disagreement on that. So the selection of the criteria, I still think that even it's something that we should continue to look at. So we're looking at what clubs we would like to promote to have come in here. And one of the reasons why I think it's important that we have the criteria is for grant purposes. We really want to be able to have to state that we are supporting the community's needs and it's a cohesive type of action. I'm not articulating as well as I would like, but when you apply for grants, they want to know exactly how we are supporting the community, and this is one of those things that this is a way that we can do that.
One kind of, on the last grant, we covered that, and obviously we got the grant of everything we asked, so apparently we're already doing it right.
Well, it was a pick and choose among the club's letters to submit with the grant application. And specifically, there are areas that we probably need to ensure we are including in club consideration moving forward that we haven't yet. And so I think it is important to go ahead and just meet to discuss. All right, we can look at, for example, the last grant application, and I can show you all specifically what was asked.
Yeah, I was there.
And then, for anyone who doesn't know, then that makes it, understand why we're doing this. But then we can also be looking at other potential grants that are available, and specifically, what are they looking for? A lot of them are looking for not just, what is the purpose of, what you're doing, but also how does it serve the community? How does it serve a specific underrepresented group? How is it all inclusive? What kind of diversity do you have within those groups? So there's some really specific things that we need to be paying attention to so that we know what we're looking for when it's time to be adding clubs. So,
Just a question about clubs that are existing. Are you would you plan to keep the clubs you have?
Absolutely.
Because I'm thinking, boy, if the criteria changed, it would be a kind of
That's a good
bad
No.
thing if you had
No.
to drop anybody.
it's not meant to do anything to change the clubs that are currently in the house. It is just so that we have a focus on what it is we are looking for going forward, so that any new clubs that we're bringing in are going to meet that criteria that we need to fulfill this full portfolio that makes us look very.
So if a club asks to meet here regularly, it would need to be in writing somehow in a diplomatic way.
Yeah.
These are our standards, and these are our criteria.
And then I've always brought up I'm always playing devil's advocate here, but you know, we are tax supported by, you know, the city of Longmont, and so we can't really, you know, I'm hesitant on turning somebody away unless what they're doing is illegal. You know, I mean, I think our criteria should be Boulder County, should be based out of Boulder County, number one, maybe even based out of Longmont,
Okay, but
you know.
this is one of the things that is gonna be up for discussion. And you and I don't agree on this point, because there's other organizations that are tax supported, like El Comité and other things that do have groups specifically for them, and they're still tax supported and whatnot. This house was given to the women of Longmont to support the women's club. It's in the ordinance. The ordinance of
It's in the deed.
the deed,
It's in the deed.
and it's also stated in the ordinance.
It is in the ordinance.
It's in the deed, and we honor the deed.
It's in the deed, but it's also in the ordinance. And the bottom line is I think it doesn't hurt us to have it be for women's groups. I know you seem to think that we should exclude and not be all inclusive for men's group or whoever would like to be here, but part of the reason we got the grant is because we need a underserved community, and the women are underserved in Longmont. They are still. I mean, there's lots of clubs that are only men inclusive, and Masons, the Good Fellows, all sorts of groups. And
They're self-supporting.
yeah, they are self-supporting, but there's also clubs within the city, like I said, El Comité and other groups that are more narrowed down. So that's a disagreement, and that comes down to the criteria, and that's part of the reason why this discussion really has to be had. And
You know, one thing that I used to do, I worked for Seagate for 21 years, and my local giving guidelines were, of course, based on what the corporate were, but as a international group of community outreach professionals, we would tweak it, you know, every so often, and you always have so many challenges because you really want to serve so many people, but you only have, in this case, you only have so much space and so much time, and in our case, it was you only have so much money, and the company has a profile and an image to keep up that may not always go with what the community needs. So it was never a perfect system, but it helped to have a criteria that would say, in our case, it was like a certain percentage served the company's mission and image, which was STEM and technology. And then a certain percentage right after that was health and human services, because it's so important. And then I had the biggest challenge with all the requests that came beyond that. But if it's, because there's so many clubs and there's so many things in the community, and they, in my case, they would look at Seagate and say, well, you're the biggest company in town. I mean, don't you have enough dollars to spread around? And it was a tricky situation. I wanted to include them too. I wanted to have our hands out there everywhere, making everyone feel like we are part of the community. But anyway, it helped to have a mission that was diplomatically stated, you know, that there's a in the deed, you know, this is what the mission of the house was. Here are additional things we feel are, you know, absolutely essential, and we want to support these others, but we have to keep certain percentages.
Yes.
And, you know, that way there's a finite amount, and they don't have to see exactly how many you have. You know, I never put out there to anybody that was asking, well, we have this much money left. You know, I mean, they don't really know what the full list is. maybe that's not fair entirely, but I feel like you gotta have some discretion when you're doing this, because there's only so many people that you can please.
That's exactly right. See, the point is, Kathy has stated, and there's only so much resources, so
Yeah.
there's only so many clubs that we can accommodate.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why setting up a criteria moving forward is so important, because it keeps the balance in place, and that's the goal.
Yeah, and I would just hate to see the Callahan mission adjusted because of what some random grant person put in their grant criteria.
Right,
I
it's
don't
not,
want, it would be hard for you guys to shift
Yes.
based on whoever formed a grant application.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I really think everybody's saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If we could just come and get the wording, correct, and then move, and that's why I think we should set up a separate meeting time, because this is really eating into our meeting here to discuss criteria.
I have two things I wanna say. One of them is, I think this should be a discussion of the full board.
Yes.
And I think it should be handled in the board meeting as board business. And I think we need to make room for it in the board meeting. The second thing I'd like to say, and I'd really like you to think about this very carefully, is that the primary mission and the reason the house was given to the city was for the ladies of Longmont. There wasn't any criteria put on that caveat or on that deed restriction. And most of the clubs, many of the clubs that met here historically have been social in nature. They haven't necessarily given back as a club to the community, although as individuals they certainly do. And I would really hate to see that focus go away. And the other thing I'd like to say is, I really don't want to be the person who starts to enforce a criteria that I don't think necessarily fits the mission. So I really want you to go home and think about that a little bit. And there's a demand out there, but there's not a lot of demand generation. So we're not turning a lot of people away, but we're also not getting a lot of requests. So I would really like to leave it open to a decision of the moment, as opposed to trying to set a lot of criteria that restricts the clubs that come here. I mean, we already have a lot. Most of our groups are social.
I don't disagree that it's a balance. I think it's all a balance, and I think the bottom line is, if we do have a criteria, and I understand, Kathy, nobody wants to be the one that has to enforce it, but if we have a criteria, it doesn't hurt to have the balance act. And it helps put a balance in there. And it also, if we state that we have a criteria, then it doesn't look like there's favoritism going on. And therefore we can address issues in that manner, as well as,
it's justified. The criteria is justified because when fundraising, specifically large fundraising such as grant applications, there are standards by which they're looking, and it's a competitive process, and they are trying to decide who gets the money. Well, in that process, if we are at least acknowledging what they're looking for, then we are headed in the right direction having that criteria. Now, it's not an all, end all, be all, stop, but it is more of a, this is where we're going, this is where we need to be focusing. And if we have two clubs where one really does meet that and the other doesn't, and it's a hard decision to make because we only have one more spot to fill.
So
Then we know, okay, we probably do need to lean toward the one that fits the criteria more, because the next grant application that we're going to complete,
it sounds like we could
have the support.
We could pick a 45-minute hunk of time in a month of your selection to have an in-depth discussion on that.
Correct.
So is there a month that works better, or would you like to pick a month next time to assign that conversation?
I'd like to wait till next time. We've got a lot on the calendar.
I was going to ask, how busy is February's calendar?
February's pretty open, but we meet again early in February, so.
So just for for my clarity, the question is not whether or not there's going to be a criteria. There is going to be a criteria, but we're kind of.
We're gonna discuss whether there's gonna be a criteria, and
Okay, so
if
that's
so,
not
what that should be.
set in stone. Okay,
Yeah,
if there's going
it's-
to be one, and if so, what is
What
going
is
to be
gonna
on
be?
it?
But
Okay.
that would, seems like it would help too if you had the list and, let's say, sort of put it in some kind of categories now, even if they get changed, you know, just to understand what's out there now. I guess I'd wanna know where is the demand, because that is a very important part of it.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, and that's what's the demand,
Yeah.
and it's social.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and I disagree with that statement.
I mean, here at the house.
Yeah, but I disagree, and I think part of it is people don't know about the house.
I'm sorry, I'm referring to the meeting, the clubs that are currently here are social.
No,
Not
no,
necessarily.
no. Actually,
Kind
I'd like to clarify that. The clusters may be social, Maureen may speak to that a little bit more, but they're historic preservation, restoration,
So we
in their
should get a,
focus.
okay.
And they have provided a lot of funding to this house over the years, and they've been here for 40
So
years.
let's decide what do we have now.
So we have, and then we have the quilters who do specific stitching and.
Okay, but
you know,
this is
so
what we
it's
can
the
discuss.
community,
This
and
is the
so, yeah,
discussion.
there's all these things that, yeah.
All I'm asking is if we could have a list next time.
Prior.
Yes.
With
There's
the
a
definition.
list in your book of the
Yeah.
clubs, I put it in there, so look under the club tab.
And we can also have a more of a,
And there's also this.
an more in-depth of what
Get
those
checked.
clubs
Oh, good.
do.
Okay.
Kathy, I'm sure there is some sort of a criteria that if a club came to you and said, I want to meet here, you would ask questions. Well, what does your club do and how many are there and
Yeah, well, absolutely, there's a club contract, but again, I'd really like
This on
to
the agenda.
put this off to next month.
Month.
There you go.
Instead of trying to have the discussion and not have the discussion,
Right.
can we just move it to next month?
Yes.
Okay, so can I get a motion that we table this to next month, please?
And then we table this to next month's agenda.
I second it.
Okay, are we going to specifically state for a specific slated amount of time to have this discussion?
It does need to be an extended period of time.
Okay, can I get a motion that you redo it during the meeting or we set up a date?
can we?
I thought we were moving it to next
We're
month.
moving it to the board meeting for a 45-minute discussion during the board meeting.
Just amend your motion.
Yes.
Okay, I'll move that we move the club selection criteria to table it to next month for a 45-minute discussion.
And I will second that amendment.
Beautiful, thank you. Let's move
All
on.
day.
Take a vote.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Kristen's decor packet.
We're,
Fun time.
I'm just gonna do that with staff.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm just, honestly, we're gonna just start taking down a tree at a time.
As we go.
And if push comes to shove, then I'll just schedule Jacqueline and Betsy and we'll just get it done. That's what we've done the last 2 years. It works pretty well. And we've got an awful lot on our agenda and scheduled, and that way we can just do it.
Well, and you can do it in
As
place
needed.
of your
Yeah.
events and not have it discombobulated all
Yeah.
at once. Okay.
That was easy.
Okay, other business. Do we have any other business to discuss? Okay, moving on to future agenda items. Future house restoration and preservation projects to be put on the agenda in February. Is there any additional projects or restoration issues that you think should be put under this item?
I think the list that Kathy has, a spreadsheet, is probably what needs to just be brought so that we can.
I'd like to move it to March though, given that we're gonna take 45
Yes.
minutes on the club
Yes.
criteria. I'd like to see that go
Okay.
in March.
So if I can get a motion that this item be tabled to the March meeting, please?
I so move.
In a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is there any other future agenda items that people feel need to be placed on the agenda?
I have an item for request of some time. There has been some talk of the email marketing, like for people who sign up for the Callahan House. I would love for board input on the verbiage, the actual language that is sent out to people in those emails.
Okay.
I would like that.
So in other words, we need content.
Content, so what you would like
Content
to
for
send. Not
constant
constant,
contact.
not constant.
Say it again. Content for constant contact
Contact
regarding
for
the
email blasts.
email blasts for the Callahan House.
Specifically for the Callahan House folks.
Wonderful.
Okay.
There's no deadline on that, just know that for me to create something out of air
Is,
is hard. Cause I don't know what you guys would like to be
and
presented.
you've got a lot of stuff on your plate too.
So I'm just putting it out there as something for.
Can you also give us a a of, I know a few of all the places we can go online to find this stuff. I know there's more than one spot.
Tell me more what that means.
Well, like, just say I'm new in town and I wanna know what's going on at the Callahan House. I know you can go to the city website, but could you kinda, I know, and Connie was coming up with links. Seems
Oh,
like
she's great. at
Yeah,
finding
and I was like, where did you find that?
That's her librarian background.
Yeah, so I wonder if we could get just a list of all the possible means of.
You know, the only one that I have access to is longmontcolorado.gov
That
with
one.
Callahan.
But the museum has links.
You know, I would
They're
request.
all on Longmont.
Yeah.
Museum also has their own website, right?
Okay, 'cause like I said,
believe
she'd
so.
come up with some pictures and like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so, is that an item that we want to have a committee work on verbiage?
Or maybe just table it to another meeting.
Just
That's what I was
put it-
thinking.
Until we have a list.
Can
we
we
don't
add
need
it to
content.
future agenda items?
Yes.
Just, you know, as content for email messages.
Okay. So, do we, because next month is going to be very full, is it okay if we table that until March?
Absolutely.
Until we have a list,
Either or.
if we're collecting lists at open houses,
Yeah,
and there's
there's
an
no-
open house is until, April?
So,
March would be lovely.
March.
March,
March.
whatever.
Which is great.
Okay, so can I get a motion that be tabled, please?
Look, I move we add the content for email messages providing to future agenda items, but identify it as a March agenda item.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Okay. Okay, we are on to the adjournment. Thank you, ladies.
It's 10:36. I move we adjourn.